Welcome, everyone, to the Connections with Kyland podcast. This is where I meet with amazing guests and we talk about the people, places, and passions that we are most connected to and how those impact our life. We are shooting here at Keyframe Studios in Hollywood, and I'm very excited to have as my guest today the amazing, beautiful, intelligent, smart, gets on my nerves and all the Cookout's nerves because she's our baby sis, but we still love her, of course, for that exact same reason. The amazing and talented Hannah Chaddha, my fellow house guest from Big Brother, my baby sis for life from the Cookout, like I said.
The itch you can never get rid of.
The itch that we can never get rid of. Exactly. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Kai. What a lovely, but also backhanded introduction.
You know, that's just
us.
That's just us.
That's us. That is how we connect.
That is how we connect and show love, because love is real. And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about everything.
Yes. Let's get into it. Are we just going to stare at each other for the next hour?
Maybe.
We can do a blinking contest. Okay. And go.
I don't know why you would start this.
I don't know, just a bit. Oh my God, my eyes are getting crossed.
Yeah. You never stood a chance.
Oh dear. No.
Yes.
I lost.
What a great way to start the day.
Kyland winning, me
thank
losing
you.
his dream.
Yes. Oh, no. Let me see if I get my eyes to stop watering. Okay.
You might have won, but I definitely defeated you.
Well done.
Oh, actually, that is not surprising because I don't do well in dry heat / dry air. Okay. So that could be why I lost. But B, you and I both know that my eyes don't really produce tears. So maybe that's why you're the one who's over there crying.
That is a great...
In shambles, but you still won.
I do recall a moment where you were in shambles. Your eyes did produce a lot of tears. I don't know. I feel like you're scratching your head like that didn't happen. But I feel like it did.
Yeah, you've seen me cry a couple times.
I feel like...
Oh, you're talking about the time on TV?
Yes. No, the other times I'll leave to your discretion.
Oh, okay.
But the, yeah, that was... Do you think that was the most emotional moment you've ever had? Or like, what's the biggest amount of tears? Like, what made you cry the most?
Death.
Whose?
Of family members, of friends.
That's fair.
That always gets me. But honestly, I think death is the only thing I have, not to get dark, but I think that's the only thing I have ever cried about, with the exception of crying in the house. But in retrospect, that did feel like somebody's death.
It definitely
We've
did.
talked about it before. Whenever someone was sent out the door and, we closed the door to the abyss and beyond lied the unknown, plus Julie Chen Moonves, it did feel like we were sending them to the farm up north, and then their picture turned black and white, and it was just an eerie experience. And I almost feel like I dealt with survivor's guilt in that house, which I think is what triggered that reaction out of me.
No, that makes sense. And for those who don't know, we're talking about Big Brother, because in the house, when someone gets evicted, eliminated from the game, their picture turns black and white, and they leave what is essentially our entire world, because we're spending months in this house completely cut off in a way that is more cut off than any other show. And you don't interact with production. You don't see other faces besides the people in the house. And once a week, Julie Chen's face on the television, very briefly. And which is interesting because I feel like Julie kind of becomes like a harbinger of death. But then also, I'm like, what good news does Julie deliver? I don't know.
Congratulations. You've won Big Brother. I never got that news. You never got that news.
I know, but I'm like...
She is like the Grim Reaper, yeah.
Kind of.
Who loves God.
When she comes on, when we see her, something bad is happening. One of our friends is dying.
Yeah.
And interesting. I mean,
But
love
we still
Julie.
get so excited to see
We
her.
do because
Well-
it's another face. We're just excited to see another
Another
human
face.
being.
Well, also,
and we
she's
love
just
you, Julie.
like,
It's not your fault. That's
Yes.
just how the game is.
well, I think also she's such like a staple and fixture of the show. As a super fan, you're like, oh my
Yes.
God, you're Julie Chen. Yeah, I think that's probably what it is more than anything.
And I love that you were a fan because I know we were just talking about how people somebody was asking, they're like, oh, like I thought you were a recruit, and they're like, oh, it's not an insult, and I was like, it kind of feels like one.
Yeah.
I think that just as a fan it does
Yes.
feel so. I mean, all right, we can start there because I tend to want to, one of the first questions I like to ask is, how did you and I become connected?
Okay. Let's see. I got COVID. I watched this TV show. I applied. I got on. You and I are both Black, so we were forced to work together. And then I was evicted, and then you were evicted.
To work together
and
by
now
our
we're here.
conscience.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. Okay, well, let's get into
Yes.
it. So you and I did a show together called Big Brother Season 23 back in 2021. I can't believe I've known you for almost 2 years now. Does that not feel insane? Insane.
Snap,
I
yeah.
knew you when you were in your 20s, and now you're in your 30s. I feel like you've
Oh,
kind of
weird.
watched me grow up.
Yeah.
I'm becoming, grown. I'm becoming a woman. Terrifying.
It's not just how we know each other, it's like how deeply connected we are
Yes.
from that time. But yes,
Yeah.
we
And
can get to that. But yeah,
Yeah,
so
we'll get
the
to that. We'll
connection,
get to
the
that.
origin of this connection.
our villain origin story. So back in January of 2021, I got sick, and during my quarantine period, I had nothing to watch. Vanderpump Rules was not on. So my sister was like, 2 of the housewives, Brandy and Candy, are on this show called Celebrity Big Brother. Watched both seasons within like 2 days, became hooked. Shout out to Tamar and Lolo and everyone on that season because it was unhinged. But then I was like racking the internet trying to find Celebrity Big Brother Season 3, and it was nowhere. And then I saw that there was Celebrity BB UK, but I didn't know what a VPN was. So then I was like, wait, there's a regular version of the show with normal human beings like you and I. So then I started from BB22 and worked my way back, which I'm honestly happy that I did, because had I started with the earlier seasons, I think I would have been very, very, very frustrated about the outcome of players who look like me. But because I started with Davon and Bailey's journey, and I saw that that pivot in the show's casting, and then after the 50% BIPOC policy was implemented, that's kind of what gave me the encouragement to apply. And then I also just wanted the same sisterhood that Davon and Bailey were able to establish with each other. So I applied. I watched BB22 to BB8 within the span of a couple weeks, every single episode. And then I got on the show. You and I met that very first day. You were smiling a lot, and I was like, why is this guy so happy to be here? I'm anxious out of my mind. And then, you and I, along with 4 other people, were able to accomplish something pretty incredible that transcended the game. And as a result, I think you and I are just going to be connected and bonded forever, as much as that kills me kind of. But yeah, I was kind of thinking about that the other day. Like, whenever you Google me, even if it's in 40 years from now, like a future employer or whatever, your name is always going to pop up right next to mine. And my name is always going to pop up when people Google you. How do you feel about that blessing?
Yeah, I mean, blessing. That's not the first word that comes to mind, but it's in the list. It's on the list.
Okay.
I will say no.
That curse.
It is. I'm very happy to be connected with you in that way,
Yeah.
and because of what we were able to do. But just to give a little bit of background, you mentioned, for those who don't know, the 50% BIPOC. Just so we have that explained, Can you share? Because I know that I didn't know about that going into the game. I didn't know they implemented that.
That's
and you
insane.
said that you only applied because they had implemented that.
Yeah. So prior to that policy being implemented, post George Floyd, post BB22, post the efforts of Davon Bailey and all the Black House guests that came before us, typically there would be like 12 to 13 white house guests, and then they would throw in a couple house guests of color just to meet some sort of quota. And I don't want to say as a direct result of that, but we would see time and time again that contestants of color would be among the first to get sent home. It was very rare that they would even make jury. So at that point, it's almost like, well, why am I going to apply if statistically my chances of making jury are not that high? Like, I don't want to take a semester off of school. I don't want to delay med school for a year just to be sent home within 3 weeks. And yes, that was a possibility going into our season. But because of that policy, because of 50% of our cast being people of color, I just felt like I would be more comfortable in that environment versus environments prior.
No, that makes sense. I think, and just to wrap up more of like your origin. So you were, and it's in, if you watch Big Brother, you can check out Hannah Chaddha's intro video. But essentially, you were a child prodigy, genius kid that just was finishing. Because you took a semester off. Because what were you doing beforehand?
Okay, yeah.
Make you talk about yourself a little bit.
Ew. Yeah, it's interesting because some people still think that I am studying fashion, which I feel like if you just watched 3 episodes, those outfits
on the show, she came in saying she was a fashion student, trying to pretend like she's not smart, and that just didn't convince anybody. But apparently, it did convince some people who were watching half-heartedly and think that she's still a fashion student. So, but that you weren't a fashion student in school. Actually, what were you doing?
Poor Alyssa would have me style her for every eviction, and I was like, "Are you sure?" But I have never been a fashion student. At one point, I did work as a personal stylist, like in high school, at this local boutique. But okay, so do you want me to just start from college? Do you want me to start from back in the day?
Yeah, I mean, like what?
Or
was
just what I was doing?
Yeah, exactly. What were you doing?
So let's see. I applied in 2021. At that point, I was halfway done with my master's program, and I recently graduated.
And you were how old?
I was 20.
Yeah.
But I recently completed my master's program in biomedical ethics.
Good. Congratulations. Very exciting.
Thank you. But Big Brother delayed me by a year. Maybe even more than a year. So,
but you got me.
Yes, that's true. I did get you a consolation prize. But
grand prize, but yeah.
It was interesting because my entire cohort graduated more than a year ago, and so I graduated with people who I barely knew, and I walked into my ceremony and I was like, "Hey guys, nice to meet you, kind of. I'm Hannah." And they were like, "Yeah, we've heard about you." But I was doing a master's program, and then also I was studying for this exam called the MCAT, which is like the medical school entrance exam. And just for context, that requires like 30 to 40 hours a week of dedication. So I was doing that, and then I was in school full time, and then I was working. I had an internship for my biomedical ethics program. I was dancing, and then I would watch Big Brother every night from 1 a.m. to 5 a.m., go to sleep, wake up at like 8 a.m., and do it all over again. So that was just a period of not sleeping at all and spreading myself so thin, which I loved. Yeah, so that's a bit about what I was doing.
So as far as our time in the show, I mean, there's so many things we can talk about that I'm sure will just pop up because it's so much a part of our lives, and especially our connected lives together. But just in terms of, you can watch the show, you can watch all these podcast interviews that I know we did after the show to find out more specifically on the game. Now, as far as here and this conversation, I really like to dive into connections as a whole, because I think that there are, as I've said before, there's people, places, passions that become important connections in our life or that connect us to others. So for yourself, what would you say is one of the most important connections that you've had in your life?
Definitely my sister. Everyone who knows me knows I love my sister. I'm obsessed with her. I bring her to meet everybody. And hopefully it's not in like a codependent way, but I'm just so proud of her. And this is my younger sister, as you know, but maybe the viewers don't, although I talk about her all the time. She's 20. So her and I are only 2.5 years apart. But because we are 5 grades apart, I do feel like she's just this little being that has to be shielded from the world and protected by me. And I know I shouldn't regard her in that way because she is grown. But she is definitely like the creative in our family. She's a dancer. She's an artist. She grew up playing the piano and the drums, and she's so crafty and handy. So she's everything that I am not, and as a result, we balance each other out because our brains just work differently. But she is the only person, I don't want to say whose validation that I seek, but I just really hope that in everything I do, I make her proud. And yeah, she's my support system. She's my backbone. She's thoughtful and compassionate and empathetic, and I love her. So yes, that is my most impactful connection.
Oh my gosh. No, it's so sweet to watch you talk about her because that's so apparent. Like whenever I see you with her, everything that you just said is so apparent and so real. And it's just so sweet to see, and you can tell that she feels, proud and protected and loved by you, and that's hopefully exactly what you see and realize as well. What would you say is like one of your guys's, early foundational memories together or experiences, something you guys got to share when you were young?
Competitive dance. So she started competitively dancing when she was 6, and at this time I think I was 8, maybe 9. So just going to different dance competitions together. She would actually help me with my hair because I still don't know how to do my hair. I would help her with her makeup. I would be in the crowd watching every single routine of hers, and then I would take like little notes and then come back to her and be like, oh, Simone, this tombe pas de bourrée that you did was the best one I've ever seen you do. I can tell you've really been stretching, but here's where I think you could make your routine even better. And then she would always do the same with me. So just like being able to watch her and see her grow as a dancer in front of my very eyes was always a blast. And then, of course, we bond over reality TV. As you know, we love Dance Moms. We love Vanderpump Rules. We love Housewives. So she's the one person I will always have to talk about those passions of mine with. Yeah.
She is funny also.
Yeah.
I remember we were in the car and we were driving and she said something like, well, you know what they say, apples are crazy, right? Or something something to that effect, like something that random.
Yeah.
And I was like, do people say this? Is this a thing? She's like,
no,
I just made that up. And I was like,
yeah.
I could not stop laughing because I was like, she's hilarious is the point.
She's so cute.
She is. So competitive dance.
Yes.
And Simone goes to Pepperdine too, my alma mater as well. So
and you guys have the
connection.
same major. You guys studied the exact same thing, took the same classes. You had homework.
Yes.
She apparently does not.
Oh,
which
interesting.
That's why I ask you sometimes. I'm like, so did you ever have assignments, exams? Because homegirl does not go to class, and I would like to see.
You probably rubbed off her, and she's probably just super smart and just does it.
I always went to class, though. Always.
No, I mean I don't know. Yeah, there's definitely class.
Okay.
But I don't know how COVID impacts that.
I don't know. I would like to see your syllabus.
Yeah, if we see this.
There's a fly. Ooh.
Oh, come on.
Did you get it?
I think so, but I don't see it in my hand. But I don't see it anywhere else.
Okay. Well, I think you eliminated the problem.
Yes, exactly. Killer Kai. No.
Back again. No, so you admit you did kill that moth.
I didn't kill the moth. That's the thing. No. I didn't kill Marty, okay? He was like that when I found him.
Interesting.
Okay, so competitive dance. I think that I find that interesting. I'd love to know about your history with dance because, especially competitive dance, because I remember one of the more surprising things you told me is that you're not competitive.
No.
So I guess how how do those align with each other? You're not competitive, but you do competitive dance a lot and have done it a lot.
Yeah.
Where did that start, and how does competitive dance come to life in, how do you go about doing competitive dance but not being competitive?
That's a good question. I'm sure there are some dancers out there who are, you didn't get the fly. Should I try?
Yeah, if you see it.
Okay, well, now it's way too high.
Okay.
As long as my arms are,
as soon as I
can't.
see it.
It's all the way up there.
Okay.
Okay, well, we'll wait for it to come down.
We'll wait
and
for
then
it. Just
we'll,
go.
We'll strike again.
I will get it.
Okay.
I should have gotten him earlier. I saw it, but I was like, no, it'll be fine. It'll go away.
Okay.
That was my mistake. I let him live.
Yeah.
Mercy.
Okay, so about competitive dance, I'm sure you can find some dancers who are very wrapped up in the competition of it all. That is never why I did competitive dance. For me... Oh, you got it?
No, I didn't. It flew past me, but I was too slow.
Oh.
It's all right. We'll get it.
Okay, eventually.
That's my...
Your minutes are numbered, so
Very
enjoy
excited.
life while
I
you
know.
still can. I think it's over there.
I'm
But
very excited to get this fly.
So in regards to competitive dance, I would have honestly been content with just taking class, but if you just take class, then you probably aren't dancing enough to truly improve, because at least at my childhood studio, they like the level of English. Hannah, I can't speak. Okay, let me just start over. Editing, beautiful thing. So
No, we'll keep that. People need to know that you're not perfect because, clearly.
No.
We'll show the Hannah's fans from Big Brother. The most dedicated people in the world. No one's more passionate about anyone than they are about Hannah.
That was probably true at some point.
At some point.
Now I feel like they've moved on to
Right,
BB24.
Fine.
Yeah. But I would have been okay with just taking class, but at that point, I don't think I would have been dancing enough to truly improve. So that's why I started competitively dancing, and then some of my closest friends at the time were part of that dance company. So I joined, and when you're 9 years old, I mean, no one is really paying attention to the competition of it all. Like I was aware that I was competing, but I was like, oh, okay, well, I got a gold. That's nice. But once I got to an age where I was, oh, did you get it?
Oh, I did. I let him go. He was in my hand, and I thought he was dead, but I hadn't killed him.
Where is it?
He was in my hand. I didn't squeeze hard enough. Oh, sorry.
Where is it though?
I just saw him this way, but that's all right. I got him once. I'll get him again. I will find you.
Where were we?
The competitive dance, 9 years old. Not necessarily being caught up in the competition of it back then.
No, at that point, I was just trying to be exposed to different styles, choreographers, get better, dance with my friends, travel with my company. That's all it was about for me. And then once I got older and I realized that that was the worst clap in the world.
I saw, yeah.
That was so bad.
Also, it looks like it was, not.
Yeah, no, it's very much alive. Okay, last thing I'll say about competitive dance. Once I finally got older, yes, I was aware that there was a bit more pressure to win because you want to represent well for your studio. You want to make your choreographers proud. But dance it's an art form. Yes, it is a sport. It's very physically demanding. There's a lot of agility, flexibility, and hand-eye coordination that goes into it. But it's an art form at the end of the day, and therefore it's going to be subjective. Like, you could think that something by Taylor Swift is the best song on earth, and I could completely hate it. So
Are you saying you hate Taylor Swift? You guys hear that? She hates Taylor Swift. Is that what you said?
No, I don't hate her. She's not my cup of tea. But that's the thing about art. Not everything and everyone has to be your cup of tea.
I was just making a joke. Now you've just exposed yourself to an army that will rival the Hannah fans themselves. Man, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
No.
the Swifties, all like 1 billion of them versus the 10 Hannah stands. Oh, who's going to win? It's a
Swifties.
David versus Goliath situation.
It's all right for people to have different opinions, guys. Leave her alone.
Yes. But if one judge could love my routine,
Yeah.
another judge could absolutely hate it. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. So I think that's why I was able to just never take judges' critiques personally. And then also at one competition, I could end up getting 5th, 6th, 7th. At another competition, I could end up winning. Like, it truly did come down to the judges and their taste and what they were looking for. And then also something that my mom has always told me, you're never going to be the tallest, but you're also never going to be the shortest. You're never going to be the smartest. You're never going to be the dumbest. You're never going to be the ugliest. You're never going to be the prettiest. So why try? And that's where my lack of competitiveness comes from.
All right.
Because I know that I'm never going to be the best, but I'm also, like, I take comfort in the fact that I'm never going to be the worst. Oh, right there. Oh my God, I'm so bad at this. Oh my God. That could have taken out all the technology.
It was intentional.
So actually, the reason why I bring up the Taylor Swift, the Swiftie wrath is because that's something that I experienced. Not really, fortunately, because it happened while we were still in the house and didn't have access to social media. But apparently, the dedicated Swifties dove deep a few years back to where I had said something about Taylor Swift. Okay. And it was very innocent. It was just like, hey, like I made a comment, nothing like derogatory or anything. It was very, I thought a harmless comment about like, I don't know about Taylor Swift. I don't know if she's the best person ever or something to that effect. Mm-hmm. People dug that up and they were talking about it while we were in the house, and then it resurged. There's a resurgence of that tweet right when we got out of the house, when we were hanging out with Todrick for our very first time. Mm-hmm. When Todrick Hall was nice enough to host a finale party for us, which was really cool because for whatever reason we didn't have one. We were the first season in a long time to not have. Yes, because of COVID. That's what it was, because of COVID.
Oh, what was going on back in 2021?
Yes, so
that global pandemic. Yeah.
So Todrick Hall was nice enough to host a finale party for us on finale night, for those who don't know. And he's a performer and friends with Taylor Swift. And so his fans and Taylor's fans were getting on social media to give him a hard time for hanging out with me. Because they're like, hey, did you know that thing that Kyland said about Taylor Swift that wasn't super nice or praising her a few years ago? And I bring this up because what's crazy about that, and I think what's a strong lesson for so many people on social media, is that I had said whatever the comment was a few years ago. And in 2020, I believe, a few years later, I had actually converted to a fan of Taylor Swift because, I didn't start listening to her music necessarily. But she had started being vocal about, I think she's from Tennessee or something, somewhere south, I believe. Probably. Somewhere in the South, and she had started being vocal about like the removal of some of like the statues with the racist heritage, and just some other things around the Black Lives Matter movement. That I thought was really cool, and that's something that I appreciate from anyone that's in the public eye, to use their platform in some way, whatever way that is. I leave up to them, and so I'd even posted. I was like, you know what, actually, I like Taylor Swift now. Or I may have been wrong with Taylor Swift or something. On like a story or something. And I didn't think that, because I'm a normal person, like it didn't occur to me that I needed to go on Twitter and find that tweet and retweet it along with the correction, like updated, here's my new view on this person, because that would be a crazy thing to do. But it just highlighted to me how social media kind of has this trend of not really opening up room for growth in so many ways, for people to grow.
Or for people to even change their mind.
Change their mind, yes, yeah, exactly.
Twitter is very, very fickle and will change their mind. Well, I don't want to confine that judgment to Twitter, but social media, I've realized, is very fickle about changing their collective conscience, consensus, whatever you want to call it. Like on the daily, they will stand someone one day and then the next day they'll switch up. Yet, God forbid, Kyland, you said back in 1988 that you hated Taylor Swift.
I mean,
And therefore, which you didn't, and you
Yeah.
also weren't alive in 1988. But I mean, it's wild to me. Like you're not allowed to have different. You're not allowed to hold different opinions that you held, or from the ones that you held 10 years ago. You're not allowed to like red today if you liked green. I don't know, 3 years ago. It's wild for me to see. But also being on the opposite end of that has taught me to not pass judgment so quickly.
that part.
Yeah, because I don't want to say that I was one of those people, but I was kind of one of those people before.
It's honest.
Yeah, before being in the public Twitter eye is what I'm gonna call it. Where I'd be like, well, if so and so held this belief a couple years ago, then maybe them changing their mind is now performative, or maybe it doesn't come from a genuine place where they're wanting to grow. Therefore, I am going to preserve them in that box, and I'm not going to change my opinion of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's probably the biggest lesson that I learned last year, being an alum, watching BB24 and passing that judgment so quickly on those house guests, which I still don't condone their actions in the house, but we've met a lot of them coming out of the house, and we've had numerous conversations with them, or at least I have. I'm not sure about you.
Yeah.
And I feel like with some people, they have welcomed my openness and my honesty, and they have been receptive, and they've shown me, as well as the people that they may have hurt on their season, that they are honest about learning from their mistakes and their indiscretions on their season. So what more could you want from those people?
I mean, that last question is it. Exactly. What do you want from someone? I think that's the question where people, I've noticed, tend to get held up is asking somebody, it's like, what is your goal? Like, is your goal just to be angry? And I think that sometimes there ends up being people, and that if you got to the root of what they're trying to do, they just want to be upset. And there are some people that have like a valid like goal. They're like, no, I want this person to do X, Y, Z, whatever that happens to be. And I don't know. I feel like that's what I challenge people to examine usually is like, well, what is it that you want this person to do? Because sometimes they've already done it. Like, just like I said, I had this thought, and they're like, oh, well, I remember my judgment for people. I feel like in general, as somebody who I feel wasn't super judgmental beforehand, and that's escalated exponentially since the show, because I have such a, I remember even that first night, like I was like, you know what? I had said this comment, and Todrick asked me about the comment, and he's like, do you know her? Do you know Taylor? He's like, because I know her really well. And I was like, I don't know her. He's like, is it maybe possible that because you don't know her and because you've never interacted with her, you have a wrong perception? And I was like, absolutely. Like, and that's kind of the question that I have for people all the time, is just like, if you don't know someone, then you can have this perception based on some sort of experience. But that's the other side, is that everyone has their own story, their own moment. And when you deal with somebody in the public eye, like, then you have to take into account, like, what was the circumstances that you met that person in. I feel like I always remember, I think it was Georgia from the challenge world. I met her one day. She is British, I believe. And so she was at this event in LA, and I saw her, and it was my first time. I was like, yo, hey, and this is after I'd done the Challenge USA. So I was like, hey, I just want to meet her and introduce myself. And, but right when I met her, at first I realized like she had a frazzled like look in her eye, and I was like, hey, do you need any help or anything? And she's like, oh no. And she instantly like put on a face of like, hey, like, okay, like I'm happy to engage with someone who watches the show. And I was like, hey, I just wanted to meet you, but I just noticed like you seem like you might be stressed. Are you okay? She's like, oh my gosh. And then she dropped the face once I said like, oh yeah, I did the show. And she's like, oh, okay, I don't need to put on this face because I don't need to worry about you being upset and telling everyone I'm a jerk because I'm just a person. She's like, I lost my sister. Like my sister, I have her phone. I can't find her or whatever. It was like a whole thing. She was having a legitimate like emergency, but couldn't live in that moment because of how reactive and how judgmental like you just become accustomed to people being because they meet you and they forget that like you're a normal person with normal problems. And I feel like there's cases to be made for the for both of our generations, the millennial and the Gen Z generation. I feel like, what have you?
Sorry.
What?
You said for both of our generations. It's if I'm young enough to be your daughter. But yes, this is true. This is true.
I just feel like I've observed a lot of positive and negative things about about all the generations. And I'm curious on how much do you resonate with Gen Z? What have you noticed about Gen Z that is about how they interact with the world and social media? I know you weren't the biggest social media, or still aren't the biggest social media like user, especially relative to other people in other Gen Zers.
Yeah.
But what's something that you've noticed that you love and maybe don't love as much about Gen Z?
I feel like Gen Z is fearless. They are vocal about issues that may or may not be pertinent to them, whether those be social justice issues, reality TV. I don't know. We're just very opinionated, and we're not scared to share those opinions. So that's something that I admire, especially when in other generations certain topics are regarded as taboo, like, oh, we can't talk about that, when there's really no reason to not discuss politics, religion. Like, why not? So that is something that I resonate with, although whenever I am voicing my opinions, I try to state those opinions in the most eloquent way that I know how, instead of using like reactive language, instead of cursing. I just feel like that's less effective for me to get my point across. But then Gen Z, by the same token, I think they are probably the biggest proponents of not allowing people to change their mind, to have differing opinions. And I do notice a large mob mentality and herd mentality with our generation, especially with the rise of social media. And whatever tweet or post gets the highest engagement or the most likes, that just becomes the opinion that we're going to accept as fact. So there are pros and cons to Gen Z, but those are my people. They're funny.
Of course. No, I know you mentioned that you tried to be eloquent about your ideas, and I just wanted to commend you because I think you are incredibly eloquent. I think that you're one of the most intelligent people I've ever met.
Oh, well, thank you.
Truly. So, I mean, looking forward, back to yourself now, as far as connections, what is a connection that you are looking to develop? So, I mean, obviously, you're head off to med school, head off to Georgetown. So proud once again. But is there any sort of, passion or person or thing, maybe Bravo, maybe somewhere else that you feel you are seeking more a connection that you want to develop in your life?
Well, as much as I love Bravo, honestly, I cannot wait to start practicing and connecting with my future patients. Like, that is truly all I have ever wanted to do since I was 5 years old. I knew I wanted to be a doctor, and in college, I had the privilege of shadowing a team of anesthesiologists all throughout undergrad, well, up until the pandemic. And then, of course, everything was shut down and regulations and restrictions. But I got to witness so many surgeries and hear and listen to anesthesiologists and surgeons introduce themselves to their patients. And they have to ask a lot of their patients because one singular move could mean the difference between life or death. And so the patient really has to put a lot of trust into their clinical team. And it's the clinical team's responsibility to honor that trust because it is so sacred, and that exchange to me is beautiful. So that is the one thing that I am looking the most forward to. As much as I love Bravo, as much as I love dance, that I strongly have always and continue to feel like is my calling in this lifetime. So, yeah, I can't wait.
That's beautiful to see you talk about it because it's palpable that how genuine that energy and drive is for what you just described. I don't know. Do you know where that came from? You said since you were 5?
Since I was 5, yeah.
Do you know where that came from?
Honestly, no. A lot of people do wonder if my parents are doctors. They're not. My parents are in business, but my dad's also very, very, very artistic. Like, I think, and of course, you have the stereotypes around immigrant parents and around Asian parents. My dad's the Indian one. So a lot of people, perhaps microaggressively, assume that it was my dad that put that on me.
Yeah.
But if my dad had his way, I would probably be a professional dancer or work in fashion. Yeah. They're, of course, very proud of me, but this is something that has just always been very self-driven. And I think going back to my parents being immigrants, it's, I think, ingrained in both of their cultures, meaning my culture, to live for the other. It's not about appeasing yourself or getting further. It's about giving community to others, helping others, opening up your home to others, making food for them, celebrating them. So I think that just naturally transferred over to me wanting to find a career and a mission and a purpose that was centered around helping others. And there's really nothing more selfless than becoming a physician. Of course, physicians are compensated well. But you could potentially be compromising a lot of your personal well-being and that work-life balance to save lives and make patients more comfortable so they can fulfill their missions. So I think that's just something that naturally developed.
Well, I don't know if I have a lot of friends and very close friends are doctors, nurses, healthcare professionals. And, hospitals are unique because I heard this once, it's the only place where you can simultaneously find people. It's a single place where you can find people who are having the best day of their life, the worst day of their life, the first day of their life, or the last day of their life, all in one place. And to work in that environment can be such a stressful and intense thing, and it is such an act of service. And obviously, especially over the past couple of years, we've really finally started to highlight the value and appreciation for healthcare workers. And so, you mentioned how natural this is, and I don't think that's natural to a lot of people, but it's natural to you, and I think that's really special. Another thing that is very special about you, and that is extremely commendable as well. And so it seems like something that, because it's so natural to you, I'm really excited to have someone like you, not just as competent and smart, but as passionate about helping others in this field. Very excited for our future doctor.
Well, I
Hannah
hope
Chaddha.
to see you one day with my needle. Kyland,
I hope to
come
see
in.
you in the hospital one day. Of course. She couldn't just let it be nice. No.
It could be Botox if you start developing wrinkles.
Wow.
Give me a call.
Wow.
That day will come. No, I'm just kidding.
No. Well, I've come to understand more and more of your sense of humor because obviously we met in a adversarial sort of, interesting because obviously we're working together. The point is we met in a situation where gameplay was so integral to all of our dynamics, both consciously and subconsciously. And we've had a lot of opportunities that people don't get to see, just have so many conversations outside the house and connections and just diving deeper in those relationships. For you, how has that been in terms of the the positives of getting deeper with these relationships with people that we played this game with, now being a more personal relationship outside the house? How's that been for you? And just overall, how do you feel like your mental health has been just outside of the house as a result of this very unique and intense experience?
Okay, well, I guess we can get into the mental health of it all first. Honestly, the month after the show, what really helped was being at Todrick's house. Shout out to Todrick. He's amazing and very generous. But being at his house with you, Tiffany, and Derek X, and then Claire, of course, came. And Bray was there, Rohan was there. Honestly, everyone just showed up. But just having you guys to hold my hand as we dipped our toes and then our feet back into the real world, that security and safety blanket just meant the world to me. And I can't thank you guys enough. I can't thank Todrick enough for just affording us that space to do so. But that time period was just very overstimulating because we got our phones back for the first time in months. I didn't even remember how to get onto my phone. I had to have the handler show me how to unlock my phone. I know some people forgot their passcodes, so that was wild. But once we finally got onto our phones, all of a sudden, most of us did not come into the season with followings. I did not even come into the season with social media. And all of a sudden, these people want to know what I'm doing, where I am, who I'm with. And that concept is still so foreign to me. Why do you care so much when probably don't care about you that much? But, okay, that sounds mean. But it's just very unfathomable.
You don't know them, but they want to get to know you. And it's like, I think that maybe
even with people that I do know, I'm like, I'm not really checking your story because I don't know, I'm not that interested. So the fact that you're like, oh, Hannah, what's going on? I'm like, why? Why do you care? I don't even care that much about my own life. No, but
I've had that challenge though, where is people
it's just weird.
invested.
Yeah.
I've noticed that. Like I have people who we talk the exact same amount of time that we did before the show, you know. Sometimes, you know, people move, they're different places or they develop families or careers or whatever. And they will say like, hey, like it feels like, you know, you're not as invested in this relationship. And those have been some difficult conversations. And some were like, I, you know, was falling behind in our communication because of just the overwhelming, you know, reality of our situation and just how many directions and we're being pulled and everything. But then I had people who pre-show, we would talk twice a year. Post-show, we talk twice a year. That's the same. But what I realize is that I only just realized this in the last few months where I was like, oh, that's why they are feeling this way. Because I was like, we talk the exact same amount. I don't know what you mean.
Yeah.
So I think that, I don't know, that may be part of it.
I think so. But as much as I joke about it, I think it probably comes down to me not feeling like I'm worthy of that investment, which is crazy to think about. But that is something that I'm slowly but surely coming to terms with, that people are interested in my life. And I do feel very lucky to be able to share my passions with people and to have them value those passions. So I'm working on that. But very high highs during that period, followed by a crash just because I wasn't in school. I didn't really know what I was doing with my life. I had to start discovering who I am outside of academia, outside of being a student. And that was very uncomfortable for me. And then once I started back up with my program, that was strange because, like you said, a lot of those people had invested so many hours into watching us all summer. So they didn't feel like they had missed a beat with me. Whereas with me walking back into my classes, I could just tell that things were different, relationships were different. I hadn't seen them or spoken to them in so long because of the pandemic. That was my first time seeing any of them in person. And I also kind of felt myself not being as interested in the curriculum as I had been prior to going on the show. But I think that's just because of the overstimulation
Makes sense.
of it all and our minds being so used to working in that house. But now I am finally finding my groove again, and I feel like I'm back to being Hannah. I'm about to start a whole nother program, which is where I feel the most comfortable. Like, that is where I am meant to be in school. But in terms of my relationships with people outside of the show, as much shade as I throw towards you and every other member of the Cookout, I really do feel like you guys are the big siblings that I never had because I'm the oldest. And so I love the fact that my relationship with each of you is so different, and it changes from week to week, honestly. There's always something happening in that group chat, but you guys are 5 people that I think I'm going to cherish these relationships forever because you guys have taught me a lot about myself. You've taught me a lot about yourselves. You've opened yourselves up to me. You've opened your families and your homes up to me. And that's something that I can't thank you enough for. And then in terms of people outside the Cookout, like Brittany, that's my girl. She's done the same thing. I've stayed with her family before. I've celebrated birthdays with her. She celebrated my birthday with me. Same with Alyssa, Derek, and Claire. Like, it's just been so and everyone on our cast, of course.
Yeah.
But those are just the people that I see the most, that I talk to the most. So it's been really cool getting to know people outside of a Lord of the Flies environment where, a Hunger Games environment where we're trying to outlast each other and outplay each other. And I mean, our season was different because we were all, trying to compete against each other, but then we also were trying to compete with each other. So just like us having conversations surrounding that has been challenging, but it's also been rewarding. So we're figuring it out. But
Well, I agree the complexity of our season being different with the cookout and just with the mission and everything else. And I think that something I value, something I have a lot of pride about, not just I have a lot of pride of what we did as the cookout, but something I have a lot of pride about for our season is that of 24 seasons, we're the only one that has a group chat where all of the cast members are still in it and still connected to each other.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
And
okay.
So,
Unhinged.
I believe a theory that I have about that is maybe that because the cookout was something that was attached to a mission larger than the game, that maybe it added perspective that, this is a game. So everybody afterwards is able to look at it and be like, oh yeah, like we can still be connected. We have this intense connection and we can still cherish that and value that and appreciate that because it was everything else that happened was the game. So I love that.
Like, it doesn't just stop at the game. Yeah,
yes,
it can go beyond that.
It can go beyond that. And so I love that. And I agree with what you're saying as far as our relationship.
Yeah.
And specifically speaking to our relationship, I'm really glad with how that evolved. It's so crazy because I know we've gotten close and always been connected, but over especially the last, 6 months plus or whatever, we've been having more and more conversations and getting even closer. And which that's really special to me because you're really special to me. And I think that not realizing that, or realizing that you didn't know that,
yes,
I think was eye-opening for me. And I
was shocked that you were shocked. I was like, oh, you didn't know that I felt that way? That's crazy.
Well, I think that is my perception on a lot of social cue things aren't always off. Aren't always on. I've learned,
which is okay. We're learning about each other.
Exactly.
You're learning, and I'm learning about myself, and you're learning about yourself.
Yes, and I think that it's something I'm really grateful for and grateful to know because I think that I feel. I remember in our round table, of course, there was an infamous moment where I said you were interchangeable
with Derek Fraser.
With Derek Fraser, and I think that there's a specific context there. We've talked about it. I've explained it
numerous times.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure there are some people that don't realize that, but but
guys, we talk outside of Twitter. Like
we
have conversations. Yes,
but no, I know I got to explain where I was coming from in that, and also apologize for however I made you feel by saying that, and I just really appreciate you for being open to that conversation and all of in conversations. Yeah, I think so highly of you in so many ways. And I think that, like I said, I think you're one of the smartest people I know, and I love how you approach situations with such logical, just critical thinking mind.
Devoid of emotion.
No. And I know that despite all the jokes, that you have such an amazing, kind heart, and I love that. I know that, it was so close to you. Oh my God, please.
Did I get it? Did I get it? No, I don't think I got it. Oh,
that would have been perfect.
I know.
It would have been perfect.
That we could have just cut the episode right there.
Right there. No. But the last sentence right here.
Oh wait, I did get it.
Hey!
I got it on my jeans.
That's a wrap. She got it. You're welcome. Now you're Killer Chaddha.
Wow. Okay. I love serial killers, so this is honestly a dream.
It's so crazy because I feel like the rest of the world just knows you as this sweet person that we know you are, but then.
Thought you were about to expose me.
No, I'm saying that it's funny because we always make jokes about like you being so dark in terms of liking serial killer shows and all these things and or being emotionless but I feel like you have to be close to see that side of you because everyone else just gets to see the other side of you, which is the core of who you are. You're very sweet, amazing, and like I said, I'm very proud of you, very excited for everything you're getting ready to do. And of course, people can connect with you even though you're not always on social media, you're not the biggest fan. They can still see some of your dances that you post on occasion, the other updates in your life, all at Hannah Chaddha.
Yeah, Hannah Chaddha on Instagram, and then Hannah_Chaddha on Twitter and TikTok.
Well, that's where you can find her. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you coming to connect.
Big brother.
Baby sis of the whole Cookout.
Yeah.
And somebody I'm excited and thankful to have in my life forever.
Yeah.
And to hit up for all the free medical advice that I want.
Yeah.
So
no, hit up Derek Frazier. I'd love to listen to him give medical advice.
She can't help it though, Shay. No.
No, I would honestly love to listen to that.
But
or like law advice.
Well, I appreciate you for being here. I appreciate all of you for listening, watching. Please share this with your friends. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button, like, comment, let me know what was your favorite part of this conversation, and which conversations and connections you want to see in the future here. Thank you so much for being here.
Because you got to end it on the best note possible.
We can't. I know.
Stop your podcast.
You know
here.
what? You're right. What this is okay.
The grand finale.
This is the grand finale.
Yeah. So no more guests. Sorry.
But really, you can definitely put other guests because I know that this isn't the best we'll ever do. But
what?
No.
Why am I here? It's my twin's birthday today. I didn't have to come. No, I'm just kidding.
This is how we interact. This is just it all the time.
This
is really it. This is the most authentic you can see. So,
yep.
Thank you all. Thank you, Hannah. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Kai.